Officer Dave Hamilton patrolled the streets of Maplewood, his mind clouded with prejudices and stereotypes that had been ingrained in him over years of service. The quiet afternoon was suddenly interrupted when he spotted a young black teenager, Eric Thompson, casually tossing a candy wrapper on the ground. Dave's eyes narrowed, his jaw clenched, and he felt a familiar surge of righteous indignation course through him. Without hesitation, Dave pulled his patrol car to the curb and stepped out, his hand instinctively resting on his holster. He approached Eric with quick, purposeful strides, his face set in a stern expression. "Hey, you," Dave called out, his voice sharp and authoritative. "What do you think you're doing?" Eric turned, startled by the sudden intrusion. He was a lanky teenager with kind eyes and an easy smile, but at that moment, confusion and worry etched across his face. "I'm sorry, officer," Eric stammered, his eyes darting between Dave's face and the discarded wrapper. "I was just throwing away my trash." Dave's nostrils flared as he closed the distance between them. "Throwing away your trash? On my streets? That's littering, son. It's against the law." His tone was aggressive, leaving no room for explanation or apology. Eric's confusion turned to fear as he realized the gravity of the situation. He raised his hands in a placating gesture, trying to de-escalate the confrontation. "I'm sorry, sir. I didn't mean any harm. I can pick it up right away." But Dave was not interested in Eric's explanations or offers to rectify the situation. In his mind, this was a clear case of disrespect for the law, and he was determined to make an example of the young man. "Turn around and put your hands behind your back," Dave ordered, reaching for his handcuffs. Eric's eyes widened in disbelief. "What? But sir, I didn't—" Before Eric could finish his sentence, Dave grabbed his arm roughly, spinning him around and pushing him against the patrol car. The sudden physical contact sent shockwaves of panic through Eric's body. He instinctively tried to pull away, his survival instincts kicking in. "Stop resisting," Dave shouted, his voice echoing down the street. He used his superior strength and training to overpower Eric, forcing the teenager's arms behind his back and snapping the handcuffs into place. The commotion attracted the attention of passers-by. A small crowd began to gather, their faces a mix of shock, anger, and concern. Some pulled out their phones, recording the incident as it unfolded. "What are you doing?" a woman called out from the sidewalk. "He's just a kid. Mind your own business," Dave snapped back, his face flushed with exertion and anger. "This is police business." Eric, now secured in handcuffs, pleaded with the officer. "Please, sir, this is a mistake. I didn't do anything wrong. Can we talk about this?" Dave ignored Eric's pleas, reciting the Miranda rights in a monotone voice as he roughly guided the teenager towards the back of the patrol car. The gathering crowd grew more vocal, their protests becoming a chorus of disapproval. "This isn't right. He's just a child. You can't do this." As Dave shoved Eric into the back seat of the patrol car, the air was thick with tension. The onlookers' phones continued to record, capturing every moment of the unjust arrest. Eric's face, visible through the car window, was a mask of fear and disbelief. Dave slammed the car door shut, turning to face the crowd with a stern expression. "Disperse immediately, or you'll all be charged with obstruction of justice," he threatened, his hand resting menacingly on his weapon. The crowd reluctantly began to thin, but not before several people promised to report the incident and contact Eric's family. As Dave climbed into the driver's seat, the first ripples of outrage were already spreading through the community, setting in motion a chain of events that would shake Maplewood to its core. Laura Thompson was in the middle of a council meeting when her phone buzzed insistently. She glanced at the screen, her brow furrowing at the unfamiliar number. Excusing herself, she stepped out of the conference room to take the call. The voice on the other end delivered news that sent a chill down her spine. Her son, Eric, had been arrested. "What do you mean, arrested?" Laura's voice was sharp, laced with disbelief and growing anger. "For what?" As the caller explained the situation, Laura's mind raced. Littering? Resisting arrest? None of it made sense. She knew her son, knew his character. This had to be a mistake. "I'm on my way," she said tersely, ending the call. Laura's heels clicked rapidly against the polished floors as she rushed back to the conference room. She hastily gathered her things, offering a brief explanation to her colleagues. Family emergency. I have to go. As she drove to the police station, Laura's emotions oscillated between worry for her son and fury at the situation. She was the mayor of Maplewood, for heaven's sake. How could this happen? The irony wasn't lost on her. A black woman in a position of power, yet her son was still subject to the very injustices she fought against daily. Pulling into the police station parking lot, Laura took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. She was no longer just a worried mother. She was a force to be reckoned with, ready to demand answers and justice for her son. The moment Laura stepped into the precinct, she felt the weight of hostile stares. Officers who normally greeted her with respect now regarded her with thinly veiled contempt. She approached the front desk, her posture rigid, her voice steady despite the turmoil within. "I'm here to see my son, Eric Thompson," she stated firmly. The desk sergeant barely looked up from his computer. "Visiting hours are over, ma'am. You'll have to come back tomorrow." Laura's patience, already stretched thin, snapped. "I'm not here as a visitor. I'm here as his mother and as the mayor of this city. I demand to see my son now." Her raised voice attracted attention. Several officers gathered, their expressions a mix of curiosity and disdain. Laura recognized one of them, Officer Dave Hamilton, the man who had arrested Eric. She fixed him with a steely glare. "Officer Hamilton," she called out, her voice carrying across the room. "I'd like to speak with you about the arrest of my son." Dave approached slowly, his face an impassive mask. "Mayor Thompson," he acknowledged stiffly, "your son was arrested for littering and resisting arrest. Standard procedure." Laura's eyes narrowed. "Standard procedure? For a candy wrapper?" "I find that hard to believe, Officer Hamilton." Dave's expression hardened. "Ma'am, I was simply doing my job. If you have a problem with that, you can file a formal complaint." The dismissive tone in his voice only fueled Laura's anger. She stepped closer, her voice low but intense. "Let me be clear, officer. This isn't over. I will see my son, and then we will have a very serious discussion about what constitutes doing your job in this city." The tension in the room was palpable. Other officers shifted uncomfortably, unsure how to handle the confrontation between the mayor and one of their own. Dave, however, remained unmoved. "Your son broke the law, Mayor Thompson," he said coldly. "Being your son doesn't exempt him from the consequences." Laura's fists clenched at her sides. She was acutely aware of the eyes on her, of the delicate balance between her roles as a mother and as a public figure. She took a deep breath, forcing her voice to remain calm. "I'm not asking for exemption, Officer Hamilton. I'm asking for fairness and reason. Now I will see my son." Immediately, the standoff lasted a few more tense seconds before another officer intervened, sensing the potential for escalation. "I'll take you to see Eric, Mayor Thompson," he offered, shooting a warning glance at Dave. As Laura followed the officer deeper into the station, her mind was already racing with plans. This incident had exposed the deep-rooted issues within the police force. Issues she had suspected but never witnessed so blatantly. It was clear that change was needed, and Laura was determined to be the one to bring it about. She steeled herself as they approached the holding area. Whatever state she found Eric in, whatever had transpired here today, Laura knew one thing for certain. This was only the beginning of a much larger fight for justice in Maplewood. Maya Johnson's phone buzzed with a text message that made her heart skip a beat. It was from Eric's cousin. "Eric's been arrested. Candy wrapper. Resisting arrest. At the station now." Maya, Eric's best friend since childhood, felt a surge of disbelief and anger. She knew Eric better than almost anyone. He wasn't the type to resist arrest or cause trouble. This had to be a mistake, or worse, deliberate discrimination. Without hesitation, Maya sprang into action. She was known in school for her activism and her ability to rally people for a cause. This time it was personal. She opened her laptop and began crafting a message to share on social media. "Urgent. Our friend Eric Thompson has been unjustly arrested. Racial profiling in Maplewood needs to stop. Peaceful protest at the police station tomorrow at 4 p.m. Spread the word. Hashtag Justice for Eric. Maya's fingers flew across the keyboard as she shared the message across multiple platforms. She then started reaching out to key individuals in her network, fellow student activists, local community leaders, and even some sympathetic teachers. Within an hour, her phone was buzzing nonstop with notifications. The message was spreading like wildfire. People were sharing, commenting, and pledging to attend the protest. Maya felt a mix of hope and determination as she watched the community come together. She spent the rest of the evening coordinating with other organizers, creating protest signs, and outlining talking points for interviews with local media. Maya knew that to make an impact, they needed to be organized and articulate in their demands. As dawn broke the next day, Maya was already up, fueled by a combination of adrenaline and purpose. She checked her phone to find that the hashtag Justice for Eric was trending locally. The protest had grown beyond her initial expectations. It wasn't just students anymore, but parents, community leaders, and citizens from all walks of life who were planning to attend. Maya arrived at school early to distribute flyers and rally more supporters. The halls were abuzz with discussion about Eric's arrest and the upcoming protest. Even those who usually stayed out of political issues were talking about attending. Throughout the day, Maya coordinated with student leaders from other schools, ensuring a united front. She also reached out to local civil rights organizations for support and guidance. The protest was quickly evolving into a larger movement against systemic racism in Maplewood. As 4 p.m. approached, Maya made her way to the police station. Her heart raced as she saw the crowd that had gathered. Hundreds of people, far more than she had anticipated. They carried signs with slogans like Justice for Eric, End Police Brutality, and Black Lives Matter. Maya took a deep breath and stepped forward, megaphone in hand. The crowd hushed as she began to speak. "Thank you all for coming," she said, her voice strong despite her nerves. "We're here because our friend Eric Thompson was unjustly arrested yesterday. But we're also here because Eric's story is not unique. It's a symptom of a larger problem, the systemic racism that plagues our community and our country." As Maya spoke, she could see news cameras focusing on her. Local reporters jotted down notes, their presence ensuring that the protest would reach an even wider audience. "We demand justice for Eric," Maya continued. "But more than that, we demand change. We demand accountability from our police force. We demand an end to racial profiling and discriminatory practices. And we won't stop until we see real, meaningful change in Maplewood." The crowd erupted in cheers and chants. Maya felt a surge of empowerment as she looked out at the sea of faces, young and old, of all races and backgrounds, united in their call for justice. As the protest continued, Maya coordinated with other speakers, ensuring that diverse voices were heard. She also kept a watchful eye on the proceedings, reminding protesters to remain peaceful and respectful. The energy of the crowd was palpable. People shared stories of their own experiences with discrimination, transforming the protest into a powerful community gathering. Maya realized that they had tapped into something much bigger than Eric's arrest. They had awakened a collective desire for change in Maplewood. As the sun began to set, Maya wrapped up the protest with a call to action. "This is just the beginning," she declared. "We'll keep fighting, keep organizing, and keep demanding justice until Maplewood becomes a place where everyone is treated with dignity and respect, regardless of the color of their skin." The crowd dispersed slowly, energized and committed to the cause. Maya stayed behind, giving interviews to local media and already planning the next steps in their movement. She knew that sustaining this momentum would be crucial in achieving real change. As she finally headed home, exhausted but exhilarated, Maya checked her phone one last time. The hashtag Justice for Eric had gone viral, with messages of support pouring in from across the country. Maya smiled, feeling a mix of pride and determination. The fight for justice in Maplewood was far from over, but they had taken a powerful first step. Councilwoman Janet Mills sat in her office, her eyes fixed on the television screen displaying coverage of the protest outside the police station.